Hello, everyone, and welcome to Being Naked. My name is Venus Castleberg, your host. Let's begin today, like I try to begin almost every broadcast, is to lower our deepest barriers. Let's take our deepest barriers down, even the ones we don't know about. You can push them down, pull them down, destroy and uncreate them. And just allow yourself to be here in the now for as long as we're here together. Awesome. Thank you for that. Well, how did we get so lucky to have Samantha Lewis joining us today? Samantha Lewis is a global wellness coach with over 20 years of experience. Samantha has created several one-of-a-kind sessions and events that literally changes lives by freeing people from self-imposed limitations, bringing out clarity for a life filled with ease, peace, and joy. And honestly, I absolutely adore Samantha. To me, she is the epitome of uniqueness, and she sparkles everywhere she goes. And that's not just on social media, people. I'm telling you, this woman like sprinkles fairy dust everywhere she goes. And
thank you, Venus.
thank you for being here.
I so loved how you started your podcast with lowering our barriers. It was so interesting to see, like, oh, I had a few barriers, hanging out there with me, and they just disappeared. Thank you so much for that.
No, you're welcome. I find it's easier to be vulnerable when we don't have barriers.
Wow, that's so true.
Awesome. So one of the things I wanted to just know about you, Samantha, that I never asked you before is what were you like as a child?
Well, very, very curious, inquisitive, always doing what nobody else was doing. Years ago, I have a sister who lives in Minnesota, and she came to visit. It must have been about 5 years ago. And we met with a lady that used to babysit us as kids. So we were 4 children. I'm one of three girls. I'm the middle sister. And we met with this lady that had used to babysit us when we were little. And her first thing to me was, oh my gosh, I see all the stuff that you do that's so different. And I'm not that surprised, because when you were little, all the kids would be playing over there, and Samantha would be over there with, playing with an ant, or, sitting under a tree, or doing something completely opposite to any other kid. So if that gives you any kind of idea.
Yeah, and that's so great. And you, if I recall correct, I mean, I know you live in South Africa, but were you born and raised in South Africa?
Yeah, I was born and raised in South Africa. I grew up, we lived in our same home for many, many years. I went to the same school as my elder sister. And during my senior school years, we call it high school here in South Africa, I really, really struggled at school. So I was always labeled the one who daydreams, the one who couldn't sit still, the one who, struggled with writing, struggled with spelling, struggled with all those things. And so when it came to near the end of high school, I was really struggling. So I actually left school and I went on to study interior decorating at a more of like a technical college. And it was so much fun for me because I got to work with wood and build things and make things and paint stuff. And we were taught everything that goes into decorating a home. So from making cushions to upholstery to sawing wood. We built double-story houses that had to have doors, windows that opened and closed, like real to scale homes. And that was, to me, that was so much fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's a little bit of insight into me, and the variety of things that I love to be involved with.
That's beautiful. I'd actually love to share. I recently discovered that there are, I want to say 7 or 9 different geniuses. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah, so a lot of people only know of like 1 or 2, and those are the tests that we're, taught what means a genius, but it's only like 1 or 2 of them. You can actually be a creative genius. And that's what that is. That's the design, that's the building, that's the wanting to create things. And that's actually a genius as well. And so I think that's a great segue into what we want to talk about today, because we're so taught from early on that we have to fit into a box and we have to be something that everybody else is, instead of being us and being our own uniqueness. So how did you start to, I guess, come to terms with that, or, start to learn that being unique was actually a gift instead of a problem?
Well, as we were talking and you were asking about when I was younger, it just pulled me back to a day that I recall right now, where I was sitting outside painting, and everybody else in my family was inside, either reading a book or knitting. My mom loved to knit. My older sister loves to knit. She still does today. But I was outside sitting under a tree. I had drawn sort of a very flat type face, eyes, lips, nose, mouth. And I was just painting that, and I was really happy to be there. So it was that sense of peace. And I noticed that whenever I try to do what everyone else was doing, it felt not fun. And I want to say uncomfortable, but that really wouldn't exactly explain what it felt like. But it just was a lot more space and a lot more peaceful to be myself and be doing the things that brought more of that to me. And it just was also fun. So it was like that sense of what would be peaceful and what would be fun for me. And just really noticing that that's what was different, is everybody else was like looking for, an answer somewhere, if I use the words that I know now. But then it was like everyone was over there and I was over here, and I could be more present over here with me, with myself, and have that sense of peace.
Awesome. Did you recognize it then, or is it more like you look back and recognized it later in life?
I recognize it more now than I did then. Then it wasn't even a thought. I would just choose it.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't like, oh, well, they're doing that. Maybe I should do. It was just waking up in the morning and I'd like, oh, this is what I'm going to do today. The thing with that was, though, I wouldn't do the other stuff that was supposed to be done, like, studying for a school exam, or it was more of what I really wanted to do. And it never made sense to me that we had all of these rules that you have to do, all these other things. And that's what life is made up of, where, why can't we just all sit under the tree and paint? That would be fun.
That would be really fun. Right. Well, what were some of the things that, as you got older, that helped you start to recognize your uniqueness and maybe even tap into it more?
Well, as I got older and more, sort of in the teenagers, and then on into adulthood, working in a corporate environment, working for a boss, working with other people, I did notice that there was often this kind of a separateness. I could easily just be on my own, create on my own, and engage with the group when I wanted to. Where many people really liked to have these constant conversations of nothingness all the time, which I didn't quite get. But I really enjoyed working. I really enjoyed having all these tasks to do and getting them done as fast as I could and as best as I could, and talking to people when I had to talk to people, and really bringing my energy to the things when it was required, not having it kind of sparse and spread out amongst stuff that really didn't even matter, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, and I did notice that I could have conversations with people that were a little bit more deeper, not just on the surface level. Like when I did engage with people, I would engage deeper. I would want to know stuff about them and ask them questions, and they would open up to me and talk to me about all different things about their family. And eventually, in the work environment, people would come to me with their problems, and we would just have a conversation, and they would walk away feeling much better. And I didn't realize that was a gift until much later. And I was just really being myself. And then, just the general things that you have, being in a business, working for bosses or people of seniority, where they will recognize that you're doing something different, and then be okay with that. So I tended to kind of get away with a lot of things because I did things in a different way. I had my own space, my own time to do things. Yeah, I think that's all that's coming up for me right now.
Well, that's awesome. And it sounds like it was kind of natural for you, since childhood. What would maybe a recommendation would you give to somebody who is trying to be okay with being unique, who is like, I'm different, and I'm judged, or I'm judging myself, and I'm having trouble choosing what's best for me or being okay with that?
I would say just take a deep breath and just ask yourself, if I was truly being me, what would I choose? Regardless of what you think anybody else would think about what you would choose, regardless of what you think the result would be by choosing what you would choose, just really ask, if I were being me, what would I choose? And you can even go further with that, and like, where would I go, and who would I speak to? Because we do get so many people love to give advice all the time, and there is this society out there that says, if you want to do this and this, these are the right people to speak to. Unicorns don't need to speak to the right person. Unicorns can find the people that would like to speak to them too. And that's when something magical gets created, is when you're really willing to ask for the people you would like to engage with to come into your life. And that's the beautiful miracle that becomes present in your life, just by asking, who can I speak to? And where can I go? And, what can I do?
Oh, it's beautiful. I was going to ask, what do you know about being a unicorn? So what would you tell somebody else? Like, do you have something else around that? Like, what else do you know about being a unicorn?
Well, if you look at a unicorn, yes, it's got this beautiful fluffy tail, and they're mostly white, and they have a horn, and often predicted with colorful rainbows, and that's the unique and the difference. But yes, it does have a horn, so it doesn't mean being a unicorn that you have to be nice and sweet and kind all the time. You can have a little bit of spikiness to you, maybe a lot on some days. So don't make yourself wrong if you're a bit spiky and you think you're not a unicorn because you have that spikiness going on a certain day. And also, just allow yourself the space to be magical, because unicorns require space. They really, really, really do. And however it is for you, it can be going out in nature. It can be sitting with your best cup of coffee, or anything like a drink in front of your favorite movie, maybe. Just give yourself the space that you require. And if you feel the walls are closing in, just expand out, and again, allow yourself more space. Because mostly, as unicorns know a lot of stuff, and unicorns can perceive a lot of stuff, it's not always yours that you are perceiving. is not always your information you are receiving. It's just stuff that's going on out in the world, and you can just gallop on in and sprinkle some sparkling dust and things can change in an instant. And I think that's another thing is unicorns don't realize that they can kind of put energy into anything and pull energy through anything. So to remember that is also a gift and use it as often as possible.
I love that. And thank you so much for pointing out that it doesn't mean that you're always, I want to say, pooping rainbows and like, being a unicorn means you have all of it all the time, at your disposal. And, but I would really like to just encourage people who might be listening. Thank you for those of you who are on today. And that your uniqueness is a huge gift, and whatever that uniqueness is. And you might see yourself as a unicorn. You might see yourself as a dragon. There's a couple of great books that talk about being a unicorn and being a dragon. But to just know that whatever you think is wrong about you is actually one of your greatest strengths. And what can you choose with it? What can you create with it instead of making it wrong?
Yeah. Thank you for reminding us about that wrongness thing.
Yeah. Well, Samantha, is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know today?
Just to, be yourself. I know this podcast is all about being naked, and that's really what it is. Whatever armor you have put on to keep yourself away from the world, to hide yourself, your uniqueness, just allow that to lower down, break apart, fall off, however it works for you. Venus had such a beautiful way of lowering barriers. You can lower the walls and barriers and armor. You don't have to hide behind it anymore. Just really, the world, Dan here, I hear him in my head. The world is asking for all of us to just be ourselves.
That's beautiful. And thank you, Samantha, for being willing to come on here and sprinkle some of your unicorn dust. We're so grateful. How can people find you? Because I know you offer classes and sessions about helping people really tap into their own uniqueness.
Well, I have two ways. One is my accessconsciousness.com/Samantha Lewis landing page on the Access website. And then I have a website called consciousyou.co.za.
Beautiful. We will put that in the comments below. Thank you again, Samantha, for being here.
Thank you, Venus. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yep, adore you. Bye.
Thank you.